So great seeing my next guest back in the cage coming up here on July 24th. She's going to be taking on Macy Chiasson. It is Aspen Ladd back here on the program. Aspen, how are you?
Doing fantastic.
Good to hear. Did you get a hike in this morning already, or are you doing that after?
Not yet. So it's getting pretty close to a fight. Training, everything's been whooping my butt, so I slept this morning. I'm going to go for a little this, then I have a busy day.
Good stuff. Well, appreciate you taking the time as always. Right off the bat, ideal time for you to fight. I mean, you've been off with this injury. Was this sort of when you were looking to fight, or were you hoping to fight a little bit sooner than that?
So months and months ago, before I ever knew which card it was going to be, I wanted to do July 10th only because that was the date of my surgery last year. So that'd be awesome. So I had no idea it was going to be the super card this year, so I wanted to do that, and they gave me this date 2 weeks later. So I'm happy. It's a year and 2 months post surgery date. So it's exciting.
Yeah, no, and great to see you back. Like I said, I know it was a really rough injury, a lot of rehab and everything. Is there anything you feel like we're going to see a bit different in the cage after this injury? I know, speaking to your head coach, Jim West, and, doing the podcast with him, he's, just told me your conditioning is even on a higher level than it was before. Is there anything you can pinpoint that you feel like you've really improved on since the last time we saw you?
I think everything's more technical than it was. I mean, it's the same for anybody that's been off. They had an injury. Like, you can't work certain things, so other things get a little bit sharper. But as you come back, and for months and months and months, I can only do specific things, only work with my coaches. So it's the details kind of, they get better. The little things get better because you're not screwing up. You're only doing the right thing over and over and over. And then you basically have to reteach your body how to move right. So with the knee and everything else, I had to relearn how to walk right. I had to relearn how to pivot and kick and step and even just shift my weight when throwing a punch. So getting back down to the fundamentals and the basics of that, I think has been very, very helpful for my overall game. And just finally the ability to get back to it full bore, just the excitement. It's like, I'm excited to be doing this.
That's awesome. And when were you actually able to do like full force training? Like, I know it's pretty hard to keep you out of the gym from what I hear, but in terms of you actually getting back to sort of your regular training, when did that take place? Because obviously you had to be careful with the injury.
Yes. So I started striking again probably 12 weeks after, but it wasn't very confident. It wasn't great. But as far as getting back to grappling, December tentatively we started a little bit, but I still didn't have full range of motion. So it wasn't until February, March where I really started to move and feel closer to myself. And it went from there, it kind of progressed. So I got full movement. Everything's great now, but it took me a long time. I was very restricted for a while.
And I know you made the most of your time. This is something we talked about in the last interview. I know you had a chance to work on your brand outside the cage, doing the website, and, shout out to Amanda England, who I know has done a fantastic job on the branding and PR side for you. How is all that going now? Because I know it's been a few months since we last spoke. It seemed like everything's going well from the website to just, seeing a different side of you, the business version of Aspen Ladd.
It is. Obviously, it's harder to balance it when I'm getting this close to a fight, but everything's still going well. We're progressing in that arena as well. And really the injury is the only thing that gave me the time to get down to that and the help of somebody like Amanda. So it's great. I need to put a little bit more time into it, but that's going to have to wait till after the fight.
Yeah, and a big matchup here. I actually really love this matchup with you and Macy. Macy's a very tough opponent. First, just your overall thoughts on her as your return opponent. I know you were kind of angling for, I think, Raquel Pennington, but Macy's a really tough opponent for you to come back to.
Yeah, no. So initially we were angling for Pena or Raquel. And from what I understood initially, so Raquel was like, she wanted to fight before I would have been ready. And physically, I just couldn't do it before a certain date. Fully healed, had to be good. So I understood at that point, but I think she must have got injured again or something happened to her because I think she wanted to fight in like June. That didn't happen. Now I see her booked for a couple months down the road. So I don't know what happened with her. I would still that fight at some point. But so that one didn't materialize. Obviously, Pena got the title shot. And then everybody else had a dance partner or they're in some kind of weird, like, possible contract negotiation. So I was like, all right, who else in the top 10 doesn't have anybody who's ready to go? And it's Macy. Macy's a tough fight. She's a big girl. It's like, all right, let's do this.
And a really awesome fight. Just from a style perspective, how do you look at this matchup? Because she's very well-rounded.
She is. She's well-rounded. She's willing to engage in all facets from what I've watched. She doesn't, you'd look at her and go, okay, she likes to strike. Striking's her thing, but she doesn't try to disengage the grappling or disengage the clinch, that kind of thing. she's willing to go into it and play there as well. She's not just somebody who's like, I'm only going to strike. Her grappling's good. She's good.
No, yeah, she's excellent. And I've seen with camp, I've been following along on social media. You've had a variety of different training partners, from Andrea Lee, who I know you've trained a lot with. I saw Miranda Maverick's been there training. What's that been like, just having so many different looks ahead of the matchup?
Oh, it's awesome. I met Miranda for the first time in Vegas last week. We talked a little bit, but she's great, awesome. And it's funny for both fighting the two only Macys in the UFC on the same card. So we got Macy and Macy. But yeah, no, that was fun. Andrea is always a great training partner. And Mo is just a little bit too close to her fight, so she wasn't out there. But we had other very big, strong, good women.
Yeah, it's too bad you and Mo weren't on the same card, but again, that'll be a week before as well. I got to ask about the weight cut. I know you've been off for a bit. I talked to Max Griffin, and he was just glowing about how you're looking in the gym and just how lean you looked, and it was all complimentary. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So, do you feel like this cut's been a little bit easier? Because I know you've done some changes, and obviously having to do the rehab, it's probably helped that as well.
I think Max is going to have a great fight this weekend. He's won forever, so I'm excited about that. No, as far as the weight cut goes, I don't know, like it's something that I've gotten better at and more used to the last couple of years. But obviously, being off for more than a year, it takes a little while to get back into that. But it feels it's going well right now. I'm feeling good. Everything's good. I'm back to long distance running type of things, and my knee holds up just fine. There's no swelling. Like, I'm happy. Couldn't be happier with how it's going.
Do you get meal prep? Are you working with anyone specifically for that?
Yes. My dog just dropped his bone off the balcony.
No worries. That's a long way to go, I'm sure, to get that bone.
Yeah, I'm working with Ultimate Fitness Food, and they are amazing. So basically every meal I eat is from them.
Is it difficult for them to deliver up the mountain to come find you?
They don't, so they deliver to the gym.
Oh,
so,
I was going to say, because that's probably a bit of a hike for them each time to deliver it directly to your door, right?
Yeah. Anybody that would have to come up here, that's a little bit of a hike. I had USADA up the other day, and I was really on top of a mountain when she called me. I had to jam back to get here on time. But it's the middle of nowhere. Just get me at the gym. It's easier.
Yeah. Do you ever worry about that, by the way? I know we've heard of some fighters that have missed their time. Like, do you ever worry when you're out in the mountains because you don't have reception that you're worried that you might miss a USADA time? Or I guess you don't, do you have to kind of make the hikes a little bit shorter sometimes just in case that happens?
I did that one. So most of the time I don't have reception, but there I did. It's lucky that I did. I was able to get back in just enough time. But it's always a risk, especially when it's getting a little bit closer to a fight. Not only when I'm out doing that, because you have random things booked. You have medicals that could have been booked the same day. You have, I've had physical therapy for the last year, so I've had instances where I have to run and go find them. So there's always a little bit of worry, but you do need to get 3 of them before you're in trouble. I've only ever missed 1, so I try not to miss them.
Yeah. You don't want to have what happened to Yair Rodriguez. I think he missed a few and then he ended up getting suspended. Not that would happen, but I'm sure that's something you're thinking of. Jim West will be in your corner. Obviously, we know the infamous corner advice he gave you ahead of the Yana Kunitsakaya fight going into the 3rd round. Who else is going to be in the cage with you that night?
Mike Guy and Dave Hirschbein. So my boxing coach
and your manager. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have been every fight ever. Well, Mike came on board, I think, my last amateur fight. And Dave, I'm pretty sure he's been there every single amateur and pro fight.
And Mike Guy's awesome. We interviewed him on the Victory Loves Company podcast, I want to say a few months ago. Really quite the character. I know he's got a lot of interesting stories as well. This is normally the part of the interview where I ask how you think the fight's going to unfold. But as you always tell me, just watch and see, which I get. But let me ask you this. What type of fight are you expecting? Because with Macy, very, very, very durable fighter. I know it's only a 3-round fight, but I mean, this is just, again, it's such an interesting fight, I think, for both of you to see where you both fit in the division.
It's going to be one where we both have to pull out all the stops. There's going to be a little bit of everything involved, and it's going to be high-paced. I
imagine, I know we're not looking past July 24th here, but just because you were off for so long, I imagine you want to get one more in this year, or you just sort of see how this fight goes and reassess then?
That would definitely be my preference, but I want to get through this fight first, and then we'll talk about it.
Looking at the implications of this fight, your division's wide open. You've got Juliana, and then, at the time of recording this, we have that Yana Kunitsakaya and Irene Aldana fight coming up. Miesha Tate and Marion are fighting as well. Do you feel like a win or two could potentially get you in that title conversation? Because if you look at your record and you look who you fought and who you've beat, I would say you're probably up there. Do you feel the same way?
A win or two could get any of us that you just talked about in the in title contention. So it's a tough division, and we'll see where that goes.
What are your thoughts on Miesha's comeback? I thought it's pretty interesting, and obviously fighting a good friend of yours and teammate in Marion Renault.
I think it's a very interesting fight. I'm excited for Marion. It's kind of like a Max. He's wanted Condit forever. It's been a name forever. Marion wanted that fight, and they both got it. Like, I'm happy for both of them. It's like it'll be good fights.
Yeah, no, really excited for that one coming up here on the 17th. Before we go, got to talk about your brother Shaler, who I know picked up another win. I know he's having a hard time getting a fight. I guess that last name is scaring some people off, but just how proud have you been as a sister to see his progression? And I know we talked about how nervous you get, but are you getting more used to that watching him fight?
No, it's freaking terrible.
I like the honesty.
It's like, so it's always been bad when I'm watching somebody I care about. Like, for example, watching one of my teammates or like freaking Fluffy fight. That is hard. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, I don't even want to watch it. Watching Shaler fight, it's like that, except even worse. Like, I want to puke. It's just bad. And it's funny because when you're fighting, it's not that bad if you're in control of the situation. But when somebody you care about is, it's horrible. Yes, I'm proud of him, but I'm very happy when it's over.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because it's such an interesting spot that he's in. He's so young, and he's in a division that, you know, they're always looking for more prospects at 205. So really excited to see what the future holds. I know he's still an amateur and don't want to look too far ahead, but it's pretty awesome to see him getting to train with guys like Fluffy and, you know, who's in the UFC already. And Shaler's, you know, just finishing high school, right? Like he's not even, I think he's just finishing up this year, right?
He just graduated, so we were there not too long ago. I think last month he graduated. Yeah, no, he's still a baby, a big giant baby. He kind of reminds me of like, you know, Great Dane puppy where he hasn't filled in yet.
yes, I know exactly what you mean. That's a good analogy.
I'm curious to see like what his weight class is going to be when he grows up completely. It's just there's so much potential in different ways that kid could go. I don't know. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Okay, before we go, got to talk a little hiking, and also how are the dogs doing? I know fight's getting closer, so maybe not as many hikes as you're used to. But any good hikes you've been on recently? Anything different? What have you been up to on the outdoors side of things?
So we're still hiking like crazy. I'm just having to squeeze it in because I've had a bunch of medicals, and then I had USADA showing up at my door, and then a couple other things that weren't expected. But no, hiking is still a daily thing. So I've been peak climbing. There's 63 of them. They're Tahoe Ogles, I think. Ogles or Ogles. I don't know how to pronounce the word. I've only ever read it.
Okay.
It's like, I think it's Washoe for bighorn sheep. So there's 63 of them, fairly close to my house, different peaks. So I've been, my obsession kicked in, and we've been ticking those off. It's very, very hard.
And just to give people an idea, how long are these hikes? Because it's not like you're going for like half an hour. These are hour long hikes, like multiple hours.
No. Most of these are at least between like 8 and 12. Some of them are longer. Some of them are a little bit shorter, but they're all very high intensity.
I've done one 12-hour hike with my wife in Newfoundland. That's the only time I've done it. My wife's obsessed with hiking, by the way, so you and her would get along great. But it's like that. I give you props because I know it can get grueling, especially like there's times when, you know, you're getting tired and then you want to, you know, you still have to hike up or hike down. In this case, it's sometimes going down's even harder because you got to be careful with your knees and stuff. So that's awesome. You're able to do so much because that's a lot of time out there. I know for most people when they're thinking a hike, maybe 2-3 hours, but 8 hours, that's good for you, man. I think that's awesome.
Oh man, like I say, after surgery, so after a knee surgery, downhill is like, it's the most horrible thing ever. You're in so much pain. That took a long away.
And we're going to expect a lot of pain in this fight coming up here July 24th. It is UFC Vegas 32. Aspen, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. I know I'm cutting into the hiking time and all that. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media and anything else you want to plug. I'll give you the last word.
All right, so everything on social media is my name, Aspen Ladd. It's weird enough, you'll find it. And besides that, just thank you to my coaches and everybody that's helped me along the way.